everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to more C4, where today we're going to be previewing our matchup this week, week 1, against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. We're going to go through 5 things that I'm kind of focusing in on for this matchup, and then I'll throw my prediction in at the end. I will say I feel a little bit different than I would say the consensus of this fan base right now. Does seem like a lot of people in this fan base are easy dub for the Philadelphia Eagles, on to the next week, on to Minnesota in primetime on Monday night. And I'm giving the Lions a little bit more respect, I feel like, than some people in this fan base. And I'll kind of go through why I think Detroit has a chance in this matchup. Maybe even better than just a chance. I mean, this is a road game. This is a road game against a team that has, a lot of hype. More hype than they've had in, like, the last 5 years. Some of that, due to Hard Knocks. Some of that due to the fact that, you got Aiden Hudson, which is a very exciting player. And obviously soon to be, when he gets healthy, Jameson Williams. Like, those are two guys that definitely assist this rebuild that is going on for the Detroit Lions. So we're going to go through our 5 things. First things first. I'll say something nice about the Detroit Lions. We'll start with that. Is if Detroit is going to do some damage in this matchup, it's going to be on the back of their run game. Deuce Staley's coming back. I imagine Deuce Staley had this game circled. I imagine this is going to be a revenge game for Deuce Staley, and he is going to want to run the football. And they can run the football. They have a great offensive line, depending on what O-line shows up, which we'll get to that in point 2 in a second here. But generally speaking, if they're going full strength, minus Big V, because he's out for a game right now, a couple games with an injury, Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, Tommy Kramer, Penei Sewell. Sewell, star tackle. Frank Ragnow, one of the better centers in the NFL. Jonah Jackson, Taylor Decker, that is a solid left-hand side. Solid to good left-hand side. I think a lot of people need to understand that, like, if this is a full-strength Detroit Lions offensive line, it's a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. Maybe even better. Maybe even closer to 5 than it is 10. So you throw in that with the fact that, they got Jamal Williams who will be able to come in for some short yardage gains, but DeAndre Swift is a dynamic running back. He's a guy that can run between the tackles. He can break tackles. He can make you miss an open field. He can catch on screen passes, can catch passes, and design routes out of the backfield. There are a lot of ways that right now, DeAndre Swift was the guy that I was trying to target in all my fantasy leagues. So I think Dan Campbell, old school style of football, Deuce Staley there, help calling the plays. They are going to want to run the football. They do not want Jared Goff throwing it 35 times, and I don't blame them. Jared Goff is absolutely a limited quarterback. I'm not going to say he's a liability, because he can sometimes play like an above-average quarterback, and I want to give credit where credit's due, so I don't say something that's going to age like milk if Jared Goff has a huge game against Philadelphia, but this is going to be a team that's going to do an old-school style smash-mouth football, and DeAndre Swift is going to be the heartbeat of that offense in this matchup. If they can get some form of ground game going, this is going to be a rough game for Philadelphia, because last year, let's be honest, for the Jim Schwartz era, one thing that we could count on the defensive side of the ball was teams weren't running it against Philadelphia. We would shut down, outside of maybe a couple games from Zeke here or there, or Saquon here or there, it almost like we broke even. We played Zeke twice a year, Saquon twice a year, and at least one of those games, those guys were doing nothing. So the run defense has always been consistent with Jim Schwartz, but Jonathan Gannon comes in, and it's hit or miss. We get some new guys, though, that hopefully can help with the run game. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at safety. Nakobe Dean through the draft. Kaiser White. Jordan Davis. Brandon Graham's coming back. Outstanding run defender at a defensive end. So, we have a lot of things that lead me to believe that we're going to have a decent run defense this season. Better than it was last year. Last year wasn't bad, but it also wasn't necessarily the standard that we had while Jim Schwartz was here. So I think that's going to be we're going to find out in that situation. That is my biggest point, though. I think if Detroit is going to have any success in this game, it's going to be running the football. And we don't know exactly what Philly's run defense is going to look like. Number 2 is I do think the Eagles' defense does match up pretty well against the Detroit Lions' offense. If you put them to a man, on this side, you have Detroit offense. On this side, you have the Eagles' defense, and you're circling matchups. Who has the better advantage? I think a lot of these go towards the Philadelphia Eagles. So it definitely helps that Jameson Williams is not there, because the one thing Philly does not have is speed. We saw that for whatever it's worth. It was a preseason game, but you look at the reports from the practice. When we went up against the Dolphins, who were one of the fastest teams in the NFL, it seemed like we had some issues. And it's not something that we've drafted. You look at the 40 times of everybody in this secondary, and I mean, obviously Slay probably would have been quick back in the day, but Slay's 32 now. You could add a couple, 500ths of a second to his 40-yard dash. We don't have a lot of burners in the secondary. So someone like Jameson Williams would cause some problems. They got DJ Chark, who's a height, weight, speed guy. I do think Slay matches up fairly well, and it's going to be a little bit of a revenge game for Darius Slay every time he goes back to Detroit. So, you have Deuce Staley on one side, Slay on the other side, even though it doesn't seem like Slay has any ill will to the Lions. And obviously the Lions hooked him up by shipping him away when he asked for a trade. But I think, Amon-Ra St. Brown going up against Avonte Maddox, that's an interesting battle. I think that'll be a fun one to come out. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, putting him on TJ Hawkinson right away. I mean, we don't know how much Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to be utilized this week. I think they're going to throw him out there, to be honest with you. He's such a good player, as long as it's, and he's such a good player, and I don't think Jonathan Gannon's scheme is anything too ridiculous to pick up on. I would just say I'd project, maybe Kaiser White showing off a little bit against Hawkinson. Hawkinson's a great tight end, but I think the match, it matches up really, really well. But that goes into point number 3, is what Jonathan Gannon defense are we going to see? There's a reason why he got some head coaching interviews last year. It's because some weeks he looked like a very good defensive coordinator. Other weeks, he was a complete liability. You look at any of our good games, it's like we set a game plan on Monday. From Monday to Saturday, Jonathan Gannon worked on that game plan. And then on Sunday, if it worked, that game plan that he worked on all week worked, it looked great. Guys were having outstanding games. Defense could get off the field. Defense could get a couple turnovers. Everything was right in the world. But then some weeks, that Monday to Saturday game plan was horrific. Think about the Raiders game, where it's just like, we're just not going to blitz them. We're going to try to be like the Buffalo Bills were against the Rams on the Thursday night opener. Just don't blitz. We're just not going to blitz. And then it's just like, all right, easy completions. The other team's quarterback goes 25-27. Our defense gets gassed because it just cannot get stops on third down, second down, and we lose the game. My concern is, defensively anyways, is that can Jonathan Gannon, now that he's had a second year, it's year 2, he had an offseason, a second offseason of bringing in guys that he wants, Kobe Dean, Kaiser White, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham's back, all these guys, is that going to make his game plan more flexible? Because it felt like last year, Jonathan Gannon would get to the point in the game, and usually you could probably recognize this, give him the first quarter, maybe the second quarter, halftime adjustments, if you will, and it felt like there was only ever a plan A for a Jonathan Gannon defense last year. It's either what we worked on all week, it's going to work, what we worked on all week, it's not working, shit, what do we do? Felt like there wasn't really a plan B. There wasn't really a massive change that, for example, if they decide we're not going to blitz Jared Goff this week. Last year, we just wouldn't blitz him. And even at halftime, we were like, man, we got to start blitzing. They just wouldn't alter their game plan any way, shape, or form. I think that will be the evolution of a Jonathan Gannon defense that we hope to see this year, where it's like, all right, if we decide not to blitz Jared Goff for the first half, and he's getting a lot of easy completions, and we're not getting off the field, and he's getting Amon-Ra St. Brown and Hawkinson at the sticks because we're not applying any pressure. I want to see at halftime them to flip the switch, start applying pressure, start getting in the face of Jared Goff. I think that is honestly one of the biggest advantages for Philadelphia. Jared Goff is an easily rattleable quarterback. He's a guy that you just get in his head, put some pressure, knock on his ass a couple times, bring some blitzes. He's going to get confused. He's going to panic. He's going to make some mistakes. He's done that for the entirety of his career, and I honestly think that will be the Eagles' game plan. So, if I'm applying what I'm worrying about to the context of this game, what I think is going to happen, it would be in the first half, if we're blitzing the shit out of Jared Goff, and it's not working. They're hitting screen passes off to Swift to slow that pass rush down. We need to be able to, all right, we got to dial this back at halftime. Maybe stop blitzing so much. And let's just play soft. Let's play, sit in zone coverage, sit back there. Maybe get confusing with our coverage looks. That's what I want to see. I want to see the evolution of a Jonathan Gannon defense. Number 4, I think the Eagles wide receivers are going to eat if Jalen Hurts plays well. A.J. Brown, outside wide receiver. Devontae Smith, outside wide receiver. Quez Watkins in the slot. You got Dallas Goedert, T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, very similar tight ends, but we have Goddard on our side, who's really damn good. And I just don't see, you're looking at the Detroit Lions defense. Chris Board, Alex Anzalone at linebacker. None of those guys are matched up very well against Dallas Goedert. Deshaun Elliott, Tracy Walker at safety. Not bad players. Also, don't think they're going to match up. I don't think they're going to shut down Dallas Goedert. They're going to shut down passes out the backfield of Miles Sanders or Kenny Gainwell. Corners. Armani Oruwariye. We had a bunch of picks last year, but he's not a lockdown guy. But he will punish you if you throw a duck up there. We know Jalen Hurts is pro to that. Jeff Okudah, and then you got Mike Hughes. that, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins should eat. They should have full bellies when all is said and done, line it up against those corners. This is a very favorable matchup for the Eagles wide receivers. This is going to be one of the better games all year, where if we're going to see big passing numbers, we're going to see, A.J. Brown go over 100 yards. We're going to see Devontae Smith go over 100 yards. We're going to see that big deep ball downfield to Quez Watkins. It's as likely to happen this week against Detroit as it would against any other team in the NFL. So that is something that's going well for the Eagles offense. But my last point, which kind of ties everything together, is don't force Jalen Hurts. Run the ball. Detroit Lions were bottom 5 run defense last season. As much as we want to show off all of our exciting new tools and pieces on the offensive side of the ball, as much as we want to be like, this is our proven year for Jalen Hurts, let's let him be our quarterback, win this game with his arm. All these narratives around Jalen Hurts. And we had that for the first half of last season. Remember like that Nick Sirianni did what I hope Jonathan Gannon can do. Remember last year when it was like, all right, we tried with Jalen Hurts as a thrower first couple of games, and it was inconsistent. Trending towards negative, trending towards not what we wanted to see. And then Philly was like, we can just run the ball at everyone. We have the best offensive line in the league. And then Philly, switched their offensive identity, went super run heavy, ended up going and making the playoffs. I feel like at least in this game, in particular, it's Detroit. You want to start the season out winning. If the first half you tried to drop back with Jalen Hurts, you tried to show off and it's just not working. Hurts. Maybe, Aiden Hudson, those guys are getting off for the Detroit Lions. I just think knowing when to be like, all right, it's not Hurts' day, let's run the ball. Knowing when to make that decision, because I think that decision will work against almost every team in the NFL that we are playing this year. Philly has generally a pretty weak schedule, and I think that if Philly, by all means, we got to see what we have in Jalen Hurts. We are not going to be able to run the same offense we ran last year and get a proper idea whether or not Jalen Hurts is going to be our franchise quarterback going forward. You have to have some level of risk, some level of let's see what he can do, and I absolutely think there's a place for that. But I also believe that Nick Sirianni and company have to be incredibly I don't want to say trigger happy, but they need to be confident in knowing when enough is enough and when it's like, all right, let's just run the football. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes sense, right? Like you want to be like, all right, let's script. Every team has a script. We'll say there's a 20-play script. Philly's going to follow that from they worked on it all week, and say in those 20 plays you have 14 passes to 6 runs, for example, designed. Fine. Let's see what Jalen Hurts can do. Maybe Jalen Hurts, like the preseason game, can get in rhythm, couple big plays, go down the field quick, score a touchdown, get him some confidence throwing the football. Yes, awesome. And if that works, keep going with that. Keep building off of that. But if you go out in your script, all your passes aren't really working, Jalen Hurts is missing some early throws, the Lions are giving us something different, I want this team immediately to be like, all right, fuck this, we're running the football. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I want. Because we can do it. It's like one of those things where, like, I just don't want Philly to lose games this year because they're trying to see what they have in Jalen Hurts. I feel like you could do that in aspects of the game, but know when it's time to kind of throw the towel on that and run the football. So in closing, we lose this game. I think it's unlikely we lose, but I do respect the Lions. I think there's scenarios where the Detroit Lions can win. If we can't stop the run, if we cannot contain DeAndre Swift, if we cannot get penetration on a pretty good offensive line, if they're down rag now, it's going to be tough. But if he's playing, if we can't stop the run, we're going to lose. How do we win? We take what the Lions give us. And that means exactly what it means. If the Lions say, we're not going to let you run the ball. Deuce Staley's over there saying, just don't let them run the ball. Make Jalen Hurts throw it. Let's try to be like the Bucs last year in the playoffs. You got all these weapons that you gave for Jalen Hurts. Throw the football. Take what they're giving us. If they say, and they end up stuffing the run. If they give confusing looks, Hurts is struggling, take what they're giving us. They are saying, we're not going to let Jalen Hurts look impressive. We're not going to let Jalen Hurts play with all his shiny new toys. Sure, take what they give you. We're going to run it down their fucking throat. I just think whatever the Lions give us, as long as Philly properly adjusts, the talent that we have on the roster should be able to overcome pretty much any other issues that may arise in this matchup. So that is my prediction. I think Philly wins this game. I'll go 34-17 is my prediction. Would love to hear your guys' predictions in the comment section below. And if it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys back here Sunday night for our post-game reactions and grades. Philly win. It's going to be fun. If Philly loses, it's probably going to be even better. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Peace out.